If there is connection between the author's life and his or her work, you may mention it briefly. And this connection must also be proven by citing credible. When we analyze poetry, we initially ask, who is the speaker? For example, we have this poem written by Robert Browning. It's titled Porphyria's Lover. And allow me to quote two lines from the poem. I listened with heart fit to break when glided in Porphyria. Then the teacher will ask, who is the speaker? Some students will say, story, a poem, a novel might not contain a moral lesson. And read. That is why authors use imagery and reverse that we see.